Hello everybody, this is Belinda from Belinda's Book Nook, and I'm here to do my Friday reads. I'm trying to get you guys at least one video a week. That's a big promise, especially because with this whole pandemic, I don't know what day of the week it is, so it could actually be Saturday, and I'm thinking it's Friday, but I'm hoping we're releasing this on Friday, and it is a Friday. I just wanted to talk about the books that I'm reading right now, and we're now in July, and just talk about what I plan on reading for this month. And I did mention them in my last video, so a bit of a repeat, but just to give you an update of where I am and what I'm doing right now, in case you didn't watch the last video. So for this month, I have a lot of read-alongs, buddy reads, that I'm participating in, and that's kind of not typically me. I usually will read, do like 1 or 2 read-alongs a year. I always do one with Didi during Black History Month, and I just, I shy away because I get nervous that I can't make it to the finish line with everybody, and it really frustrates me. Hence why, I try not to do TBRs, but I'm trying new things this year and seeing if TBRs might be. I always write, I shouldn't say I don't like TBRs, because I do write things down for myself, but I hate to reveal it in a video and not meet that, which happens 99% of the time. Anyway, because I do feel like I am kind of a mood reader as well, and a slow reader, we know that. So the things that I'm reading this month, the first one I'm going to talk about real quick is The New Jim Crow. And as I told you, I am reading this with Alba from Seriella, and I'll link her down below. She and I are going to buddy read this, and I've already put my little flags here to kind of keep me honest and straight, so that I know when we check in, I've read what we said we're going to read. I did start a couple pages into this. I read the foreword, which was by Cornell West, and then I read, I think, the acknowledgement. And this book is on all of the lists, so a lot of you probably heard of it, especially right now. It's on all these hot lists. But what I found interesting, just reading, well, the foreword was fantastic by Cornell West. But in the acknowledgement, I think that's what she had called it in the beginning. She talks about, she wrote this book while she had, she had small children. I think she had 3 children in the home, 3 young children. And I just can't imagine the research that goes into creating a book like this, being able to put together a book like that and have small children around. Because, it's, any of you that have children, that it takes a lot of effort and work. So I'm sure that she had a lot of help. I'm going to also tell you guys, because I just forgot to say at the beginning of this video, about 10 minutes before I shot this, I was working at my desk, and I was working in one of my journals, my bullet journals, and I went to use my whiteout, and the whiteout, it kind of exploded all over my hands. So if you look at my hands and you don't see nail polish on a couple of fingers, it's because I freaked out. I don't know if you've ever gotten whiteout on your hands before, but I couldn't get it off. I went all down my hand, and these fingers, these 3 really, and I went to the bathroom, and I immediately started washing it. It was like rubbing in, and it was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have white fingers. panicking. Finally, I said, well, maybe I'll try nail polish remover, and nail polish remover did it. However, the nail polish remover removed my nail polish. So if it looks freaky, I haven't replaced the nail polish, but I wanted to get my video done. So that's the story there. Sorry about that. But anyway, this book, it's going to be really good. I'm just looking forward to it. I got my paper ready to take my notes. I am going to be using my lovely pencil in here. Don't hate anybody, because I don't mind using that, especially in books like this, which I consider kind of like a reference. I like to write in them. So I will write in them, but I will also write in other areas so that I can know what to pull out to talk about. So this I'm really excited about reading. The other one I have is Kindred by Octavia Butler, and I told you I'm doing this read along. This is a slow read along, and I love it because I have 2 months to finish each book by Octavia Butler. I will leave all the information below about these just like I did last time, in case any of you guys are interested to hop on board. This is the first book that I read by Octavia and loved it. And I don't reread books. So this is really cool because I've already gotten the first 50 pages read, and I'm enjoying it as much as I did, maybe more than when I read it, because I read this a long time ago, because my mind is in a different place than when I first read it. I feel like this is definitely going to be a great reread. And it might change the way I think about rereads. I always don't want to reread a book because I feel like it's taking up time that I could read a new book. And I have so many books to read. It makes no sense to keep rereading when there's other things waiting. But that said, there's certain things I think sometimes that you can pull more information from it in an experience. So I feel like this is going to be so worth the reread. And also the discussion that we're going to have at the end of the 2 months is going to elevate this on another level. This book is phenomenal. It's about a woman named Dana. She lives with her husband. They just moved. I think it's in the 70s. Yep, 1976. It's her 26th birthday. And this is not really big of a spoiler, but she's moving into a new place with her husband, and she gets a dizzy spells, and it sends her back in time. I think it was in the late 1800s? I've tried to think of the actual year that it went back to. But she ends up in the South during, obviously, slavery, and she has to adjust to being there. And the book is, exploring her going back and forth. So she does come back to this time, and she goes back to that time. And I won't reveal anything else in terms of how this is happening and how it does. But it's an interesting way to explore history. Because, oftentimes people write history books and they are after the fact and far removed. And this is kind of interesting because it's kind of like, what if you really were there? You know how you say, oh, if I was back in that time, I would do X. Well, now you get to see it. And to be there is so much more than to read it. So I think the people that are going to read this for their first time are going to love it. Everybody that's rereading it is going to love it. So this one was easy for me to pick up when I was getting like a little tired, because I just can jump right into it. It's a very easy book to get into. So that's the other one. The other one I'm doing with Didi and Company for Read So Lit, and it's called Kintu, and it's by Jennifer. Did I say who wrote the books? I said Octavia Butler for that one. Okay. This one is called Kintu by Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi. Now, just by listening to me pronounce the author's name, just imagine when I read this book. It is a story set in Uganda by a Ugandan author. As predicted, and as stated going in, it said that a lot of foreign readers will have trouble with the pronunciation. I think that I don't mind pronouncing words that are, foreign words. I just want somebody to I want to hear it so I can learn to say it correctly, as correct as I can with my American accent. So that's what frustrates me more than there being a lot of names, is if I knew how to say it, I would consistently say it that way in my head every time I read it. But if somebody was in my head right now, and I've read a little bit, I started this one as well. They were like, they would think I doubled the characters, because I might come to a name again, and in my head I say it a different way. So that's the only thing so far that, yes, is a little bit frustrating, but it's really good. And I have to say, the introduction is by a gentleman named Aaron Beatty. Wow, such beautiful writing. Like this introduction he did to describe this book, Ugandan history. What is history? Oh my God. Like, I just wanted to highlight the whole introduction. I have to go. I think he is a professor or some sort. And I want to go read what he writes, because if he writes anything like that on a regular basis, God, some words just really move you. And this one really got me going and ready to read the book. So I read that, and then I started, I read the first chapter of this book so far. And can you see it? When it's on this, it always shines funny, so you can't see it. So The cover is fantastic. I wish I had the actual book now. I am borrowing it from the library. But it's set in Uganda. It's hard to describe, but it's a gentleman. Do I have that? I might have a description. It's a gentleman that he is, let's see. Okay, here we go. A little bit of a description. Kintu is a modern classic, a multi-layered narrative that reimagines the history of Uganda through the cursed bloodline of the Kintu clan. Divided into 6 sections, the novel begins in 1750 when Kintu Kata sets out for the capital to pledge allegiance to the new leader of the Buganda kingdom. Along the way, he unleashes a curse that will plague his family for generations. In an ambitious tale of clan and a nation, Mukumbi weaves together the stories of Kintu's descendants as they seek to break from the burden of their shared past and reconcile the inheritance of tradition in the modern world that is their future. It's really good so far. Like I said, I'm stumbling with that, but you know, my ego's like, I can read this. Nobody can tell me I can't read these words. I may be reading them incorrectly, but as long as I get the gist is being said, there are a lot of characters initially. I'm still not going to let that slow me down with this. And so this one will be only for the month of July. So I have to finish it by the end of the month. So I have to make sure that I kind of keep myself on the straight and narrow. And I actually wrote a little card, an index card, that has like each week how many pages I need to read to make sure that I meet the actual goal. Now, one other thing that is not on the list, and let's just face it, if I get those 3 done, it's like a feat of the impossible, right? But I'm not like that easily dissuaded. So what I did is I was looking through, and I always look through to see what it's online, and I found this book. Is this the one that has it on it? Oh, it's this one. I have to use, I told you, different devices because for whatever reason my app's not working in my Kindle. Okay, so on Hoopla I found it's Henrietta Lacks book. And this one is written, it's called Henrietta Lacks, The Untold Story by Ron Lacks. Ron Lacks is the grandson of, great-grandson or grandson of Henrietta Lacks. I'm going to talk to you first and say, this is one you've probably seen me mention several times on here. This book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot, has been one of the books that I recommend to everybody to read. Just Mercy is always another one. The Fire this time. There's some that I just always repeat. They kind of come out automatic. So when I saw this, I was like, whoa, okay. And the description of this, he calls it the untold story. What I've read so far, I just read the introduction from him, is that he feels like this story misrepresented Henrietta Lacks and her family. And he feels like Rebecca approached them and their integrity was compromised with money. And so the family was very, very close, as he describes in here, prior to her coming to write this novel. And that Henrietta Lacks, who in here, and I didn't watch the movie, I think Oprah's in the movie, but Henrietta Lacks is portrayed as very, very, very poor here and uneducated. And he contradicts that. And he said, he talks about how the family is very close-knit and all of the things that they used to do prior to the creation of this book. And once this process started, the family was completely divided. And people don't talk to each other to this day. And he wanted to make sure he put on the records the story of his grandmother, or great-grandmother, I think it's his grandmother. And he wanted to set the record straight. And so now I'm like torn. I think that this was great that at least Rebecca got the story out of the misuse and the use of her genes to create all of this wonderful stuff, and that they capitalized on it, but it never made it to her family, right? So we didn't know about that until the book came out. But I'm really curious to see what he says in this book, because I think that it will change. I wouldn't say maybe I won't recommend this. I may recommend them both in tandem, because I think, especially now that I do my genealogy, it is important for the family to tell your story. If you don't tell your story, it either goes unsaid or somebody else tells it. And in this situation, somebody else told their story. And somebody else also profited from their story. I mean, this is made into a movie. So let's just think of how much money was lined in their pockets right there, right? And so I think it's important for us to read somebody that is a relative that is closer to the story. And everybody has their own bias, but I think that that's important for us to hear what he has to say. So that is something I'm going to try to sneak in on the side. Don't say anything to me, anybody, please, because you know I'm a slow reader, but I'm going to try anyway. And I can read, and hopefully you can keep renewing it. So if I should not finish it with all of these other things, I will just keep renewing it into next month so that I can finish it. And I'll come back to you to talk about it, because I just think that was so interesting. And it just shifted my way of thinking about when somebody writes a story about something and about somebody else. It's important to always have a critical eye and be critical and be, when you're reading it, about where that author is coming from while they're giving you this information. And this was a similar scenario to the book that came out this year, The American Dirt. There was a big controversy over that. And, you know, who gets to tell the story? So this is another one of those kind of cases where it's like, okay, well, maybe there's more to this than meets the eye. And so I'm going to, and the irony, the irony is that Oprah, unfortunately, is tied to both, because Oprah, for The American Dirt, had put it on her, you know, her Oprah's list, you know, her book club list. And this one, Henrietta Lacks, Oprah bought the rights to make the movie. And I think the movie, if I'm correct, pulls from this book. And if he's saying that he doesn't believe this book represents them, then it's a whole nother mess as well. So, you know, you just have to make sure you take time to always remember, no matter what you're reading, anything, even if it's the person talking about their own experience, they're coming at it from their perspective. There is going to be some level of bias, right? So, and how close are they to the source? You know, is it their experience? Is somebody else's experience that they're talking about? So that's what I'm reading. And I don't know how I got into a whole lecture here on critical reading or what have you, but I hope you guys have a great weekend and have a safe weekend and be properly socially distanced and washing your hands. And I will talk to you next week. Bye.